No worries.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the More Smarter Show with your hosts, Jake and Dylan. Jake, what do we have on the agenda today?
I'm pumped for this one. I think I say this for everyone, but I'm really pumped for this guest today. It's my friend Bill Kwong. Bill is a fellow realtor like us, Dylan, but he's also an investor. And the reason I invited him to be on personally is because me and him have such great conversations that like two realtors typically don't have, right? It's about business, about buying businesses, about being interested in other facets of earning money and having revenue streams. So I definitely am excited to have Bill on to talk about all those things. Bill, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. I appreciate you guys having me on. You guys are awesome. I'm loving what you guys are doing with the podcast.
Yeah, let's go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, one thing I wanted to jump in before we get into all the nitty gritty business talk is for all those pork roll people. What do you have to say to those guys compared to
Oh
Taylor
man.
Ham?
I might have to exit the call. I don't know if you guys are pork roll guys. No, I'm just messing, man.
I'm a Taylor Ham guy. What about you, Dylan?
I'm Taylor Ham through and through, but my
Sweet.
girlfriend is 100% pork roll, and we just
Yeah.
fight about it.
I love them. And yeah, it's funny because like obviously you guys don't know, like my dad owned a breakfast spot for like 34 years or something. So I was working there just as like a little kid, and then I just started like reviewing Taylor ham, egg, and cheese reviews, and like the people on my realtor page like really loved it. It was so random, but I'm like something a little different than just like showing living rooms and bathrooms and kitchens all day on my Instagram. But yeah, like
That's more
I get.
smarter.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's a little bit different, I guess. But yeah, I get people like hating the comments. It's like, hey man, like it's pork roll, like go to hell kind of
Well,
thing.
I,
Not really, but
I think I've been in your comments on this because I don't see the difference between one Taylor ham, egg, and cheese and another, to be honest. I don't see how one could
yeah.
be that much better than another. Maybe that's a hot take.
That's a hot take.
I
That
don't
is
get
such a
it.
hot
It's so
take.
simple.
Hottest
It's
Yeah.
so
take.
simple.
Yeah, it's hard to like mess up, right? I don't know. It's char on the meat, runny egg, melted cheese, Kaiser roll,
Yeah,
bread
I
comes into
guess.
play. Everything comes together, bro. You know?
Yeah. Honestly, what I like about this, and this is like, we can dive into how this is more smarter being like a realtor, but also being a person. But like, you're so authentic when you're on these videos. You're like, oh, I'm a self-diagnosed lactose intolerant person, and all this funny stuff. So I mean, it's like so relatable, and I think that probably
Yeah.
makes you like want like I feel like I already know you just going on your Instagram for a little bit. So it's cool.
I appreciate that, man. Thanks. I guess it's like, world of real estate, like as realtors, there's like, I don't know, there's millions of us. So it's, being relatable and be like, hey, this guy's not just like a hungry salesman kind of person. He's like an actual human being who's sometimes funny, sometimes not. Who knows? It depends on the person.
He
But
tries.
Yeah.
he tries. He
So,
tries for sure.
so I love that topic. There is a million of us. So Dylan and I are both realtors. We're a million and two here, a million and three with all three of
Yeah.
us. Like that's so true. So the way we differentiate ourselves, Bill, and I would like for you to talk more about it, is that we are
Yeah.
also investors, right? And Dylan is a future investor. He's got an offer out right now, which we can talk about maybe towards the end of here. Fingers crossed. But Bill, like, so how do you differentiate yourself being that real estate investor background?
For sure. It's a good question. So, like, I actually started my business out originally by helping first-time investors just because I was one at one point. So, like, kind of guiding them in terms of running numbers, cap rates, cash on cash return, and things like that. Like, if you don't have an investment property and, it's difficult to know that, or just having landlord experience always helped kind of alleviate the burden with my first time home buyers who are investors. Um, and I can estimate rehab costs pretty well. So I think that kind of helps. I'm not like a contractor by any means or like a structural engineer. I'm like, hey, you should probably get that checked. But it just kind of helps give them a level of comfort, especially the first go around for multi investors. So that's kind of how I started my business, and that's kind of how I felt like I generated most of my business. I'm more now just on the residential side, like regular consumer buyers or sellers. Um, some multifamily sellers as well. So then I incorporate different avenues of income streams like Airbnb. So like I can market my listings if they're multifamilies in different ways. So that's
Yeah.
always helped on the seller side too. Yeah.
So what happened first? Did you buy your first place or did you become a realtor first?
I bought my place first.
Me too.
So yeah, yeah. So I'm an investor first, or at least I was trying to be, where like I
Me
was
too.
trying to, right? I did wholesaling through this person and it went like horrible and I wasted $3,000, but I won't get into names, but it's okay. So then, trying to use hard money to flip, but no one wanted to lend to me because I was a IT auditor with really no experience. That was about in like 2014, give or take, 2015. So then I'm like, you know what? I was on Bigger Pockets all the time. So like just posting on threads and like trying to be helpful to people and like doing a lot of research. So I got a lot of business from that too. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do a construction loan, 203K loan. I'm going to buy a place in Jersey City and house hack it and renovate it and do the burr strategy. It was an elongated burr, but it worked out pretty well. But yeah,
Oh yeah.
after that, I was still in corporate, and the guy who was a Redfin agent who helped me buy the house worked at a brokerage in Hoboken, so I actually joined his brokerage with him, and he like mentored me for a while. We hopped around to Coldwell Banker as well, and then in 2019, I quit my job and just said, like, F it, man, let's just go like all in, and I actually quit my job to flip houses, and I did one within like 3 months of going full time, but it took a year because COVID hit, as well as me not managing it very well with permits and things like that. So um, the conversation became a lot easier as a realtor, where I was like helping people make the most amount of money or getting them a house versus trying to nickel and dime sellers to make my profit margins work. But that's also because of inexperience too. I didn't really know how to have those conversations, so it didn't feel very comfortable to me. Um, but I think I told you this. I'm doing a flip right now, managing my Airbnbs, landlord, all that fun stuff, little prop management, and yeah, just mostly focus on the realtor side now.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So these are all like really cool, fun things, right? Like flipping houses and being a realtor and investor and all that sort of stuff. But one thing on the More Smarter show that we'd like to talk about is dive into when you go from a corporate job and then you make this switch into self-employed or entrepreneur. What was kind of the mindset that went behind that? Were you like, all right, I'm fed up with this, or like this is a cool, flashy thing that I kind of want to just try out, and you just went full force, or how did that kind of go?
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, it was a mix of both, like flipping houses, like sounds sexy, like it's awesome, I definitely was a little fed up. I think I was putting in the earlier part of my career in corporate, maybe like 60 hours a week, sometimes 80. But you're stuck at that ceiling. So I'm like, you know what? Like, why don't I dive and go all into real estate because I can control those assets. I can't control the asset that I'm a part of. I'm just essentially a cog in a wheel. So it is like a mix of both, I guess. But before I quit my job, I already had my multifamily fully fixed up. I had the equity and I was living for free. So living in my basement
Nice.
studio. Yeah, I rented out the other 2 units. I kept the parking spot because in Jersey City you kind of need it. So that's like the only thing I basically kept for myself. So it made it a bit of an easier transition where like my living costs were extremely low. So I knew I could pull it off with, kind of little or no, I'm not going to say risk, but there's just less obstacles, right? So it made it a easier transition for me.
I can tell why you and Jake. It sounds
Right? We have
exact,
the same
very
story.
yeah,
Really?
exactly like
Yeah, yeah,
Jake.
We
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
we have the exact same story. Like that foundation of quitting our jobs, having that house hack first, and living for free, allowing us to pursue our passions, sounds so
Yeah.
similar to me. And I feel like we're also in that same boat right now, which
Yeah.
I already know you're a future guest on this podcast as well, because we're both going to be sharing where we're at maybe a year from now or more. But like, where are you now? Like, I know you said you're a realtor, but you have other businesses too, or what?
So I have just like a handful of clients, so I do property management for nothing too crazy. They're all out of state. I have the Airbnb business that's been running for about 2.5 years. So I had an office with some investor buddies of mine who ran a wholesaling company, and then I was essentially their in-house realtor. So we pulled together a bunch of money and bought a three-family in Montclair, and it took me a year to get the tenants out because some were Section 8, so I had to find them new housing, things like that. At the end of the day, for what I could have sold it for the year's worth of time, it wasn't really worth 10 or 15 or 20 grand. So I ended up buying everybody out. And then I started Airbnb at a two out of the three units. And then that I was just basically podcasting and listening to YouTube University on how to run Airbnb. So kind of learning that business. And then I transitioned one of my units in Jersey City to Airbnb. So that worked out really well. So I just hired someone to handle all the digital stuff on the Airbnb side. I have a cleaning crew and I have a handyman who kind of helps with all those things. So it's a bit of managing, but the new employee has been awesome. He's actually a tenant who lives in my house in
Nice.
Jersey City, so he is like boots on the ground. So a couple $100, he gets to learn a lot from me too. And that way I can get my time back, which is nice. So I can either double down on whether it's buying a new business or putting more focus on the realtor side of things. But I would love to buy a laundromat. It's just like the ones I
I know.
analyze, it's really difficult to kind of make the numbers work for the time and effort that you need to put forth. Some of those smaller laundromats, like they might only net you maybe like $1,000 to $2,000, but like they're smaller, obviously, and the machines are going to need replacing in 5 years. So like the amount of time that you have to put only to get hit with a huge upfront cost didn't really seem to pencil for me. So bigger
Yeah.
laundromats are what I'm looking for, maybe even like potential partnerships with those because there's a lot more juice in them, but the numbers just have to be right with those things.
Yeah.
I tried, yeah,
More similarities. Like I also have an Airbnb.
yeah,
I also do a little property management. I also looking at laundromats. Like like it sounds
I
like we're in
love
the
it.
similar trajectory of like, okay, our real estate business is great, and we don't want it to stop, but
Right.
we also realize that when we're working more smarter as a realtor, that opens us up to have another business, which we're both meant to have.
Exactly, 100%. I was like honestly pretty fed up with like being a realtor at one point. I think I told you this too, Jake, on our last call, where like I was going to kind of quit or dial it back by 50%. And me and my partner at the time, we were going to buy a bakery in New York. It was kind of like a franchise kind of situation, but the numbers didn't really like pencil with like cost of goods sold and what I could control and what I couldn't. But the scalability was there. So like getting up multiple locations up and running. Food and beverage industry, that was just really risky. So even though that's where my parents come from, where I was like kind of raised in, I'm still like a little iffy about it because I didn't want to be an operator, but for the first 2 years you kind of had to be with such a big investment. So I kind we called it off because the numbers didn't work, and then I threw a Hail Mary and joined my team, and everything's been pretty awesome since. And yeah, it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel like there's so many different ways to kind of go about this. Thinking that we're all in realtor land, we'll stick with that for now, and then we'll kind of venture off into all these different kind of
Sure.
pathways that you've went down. So you started off in real estate 6 years ago, right?
Hmm. Yep.
So that's like just before COVID, and originally you bought this investment property, you bought the multifamily, and then you were doing some house hacking, and you were like, you know what, I can make money analyzing more deals like this for other
Yeah.
people. Was that the thought, or what was kind of the thought that got you into real estate in the first place?
It's honestly, I only got my license just so I could check the MLS so I could hunt for deals to flip. It just so happened that like I ran out of money on my first flip, so like I couldn't get more. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna focus on being a realtor on the side while this flip is being completed. And then I actually did pretty well. And I'm like, oh, like I should have just sold three more houses and then I would have just I wouldn't have to spend a year flipping this house because I'm not good at it. It's not that I was bad, but it's lack of inexperience, or lack of experience. So, yeah, I guess once the flip was done, I'm like, huh. I'm just gonna like focus on real estate sales. Like this is a lot easier for me, and like I didn't feel any different after doing a flip. I thought I was gonna like change or like be the man, and like nothing really changed like at all. So I'm like, oh, like these deals are actually a lot more rewarding for me. Um, and you can make a good living out of it, and then you can continue to buy rental properties or you know, explore other investment opportunities. So that's kind of been what my focus has been on, and it's changing like every year because I'm like, oh, like maybe I'm gonna get out and buy business or do this or
Yeah.
do that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I just got my license so I could look on the MLS and hunt for deals back at the time, and then I feel like I always try to plan my life, and then it never works out the way that I wanted to. Not the way that I wanted to, but things just change. So like, I almost stopped planning. I just kind of go with the flow, and we're all more than capable of building businesses and making sales and kind of doing whatever the hell we want to do. It's just kind of really up to you. So I've just been kind of going with the flow. Um, don't really have too many plans. Just going with it as it comes, I suppose.
Yeah, that's great.
Dylan's joke that I'm going to steal from him is the difference between us is after my flip, I felt like I was the man. And it's
Yeah.
kind of true. I did feel like I was the man after my first flip.
Nice, man. That's good.
Yeah.
Uh,
It no, because I mean that's so true. It's just about the experience, though. I mean, if you have a bad experience, like Jake had a really great experience with the flip. He had, and like if you have a bad experience, it's totally different. And I'm assuming that's
yeah.
probably where you were kind of going with, not like kind of wanting getting out of the realtor space because you started to not have as good of a experience with it, and that's probably why you were like, all
Yeah.
right, these other things seem cooler. So you've clearly been doing it for 6 years. You've been successful. You're getting now. I think you said this year you're up to about 15 million in sales, which is crazy impressive.
Yep.
And
Thanks,
so
man.
we won't bore everyone with the grind from getting to starting 6 years ago to now making 15 million. But obviously, it is a grind. You've learned a lot. What have you kind of learned in that time that has now made you want to shift your mindset to being a small business owner or do other things outside of real estate?
That's a good question. So like for me, when I think scalability, you can scale being a realtor, but I don't really have an interest in having a team or starting a team. Just having the right players to free up my time so I can do the $1,000 an hour tasks versus the $5 an hour ones. And I was a pretty expensive single agent in terms of my expenses. So, like, from that standpoint, like, I think of what I've learned is honestly, if you find the right team, I think it's awesome because you can accelerate a lot quicker. Like, I went from 8 mil to 15, and I have maybe like I think 2 mil under contract. So like the acceleration's great. Which I found I didn't have that, just trying to grow it myself. I feel like you need help. So like I'm always like, oh, I can't really rely on anybody to do this for me. I'm gonna do it by myself because no one's gonna do it better than me. And that's true because they don't have skin in the game like you do. But if you don't learn to let go and, keep one hand on the wheel and one hand off, you're never really going to grow, or at least not as quick as you maybe want. But like patience is also a thing that I struggle with. So I'm always trying to get there, get there, get there. And what's the fastest way to do it? So like that's kind of why I like my team. I'm not like hard selling my team. Who cares? It's just whatever works for everybody. Um,
So
but like,
basically, you've seen how like the team has helped you, and therefore systems have helped you. I think that's where you're going with
yeah,
this, and
yeah.
you think that that's repeatable in another sector of business.
100%. Yeah, that's exactly right. And like for me, like I'm always just going to be the salesman. Like I'll have my
Yeah,
transaction assistant, marketer, whatever, but I'm like, you know what? Like once I actually get like a good chunk of change to invest it into an asset that's not myself, an asset that I can manage, similar to like Airbnbs or, multifamily properties with a higher return, even though it yields a higher risk. I think I'd be willing to take that jump. And it's also something new. I like to keep it fresh. Maybe it's my ADHD that constantly kicks in every day. I don't know, but
I'm shuffling
yeah,
a deck of cards right now, so you're
I'm
telling
playing
me.
with this little thing. Yeah, I don't know. Oh
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
So your skill set sounds like sales, right? That's like in a non-salesy way, which is a
hmm
strength. based on your background, that's your skill set. So you're probably thinking that that's value that you can add to a future business. Now, me and you are in that we were similar in that way, and we're also
Yeah,
similar, like I've said, in where we are in our careers of what we want as our next steps. I think based on our conversations.
for sure.
So you're underwriting laundromats. Like let's now move on from being a realtor. Like what are you thinking now?
Yeah, so I actually started like doing this recently where I started like sending like postcards out and trying to get in touch with owners of laundromats that I've been seeing that are like slightly dilapidated or whatever. But yeah, I've been analyzing laundromats, like a couple times a week just as they come up, just to see if it's a viable option for me. One of the things I learned, I think they typically resell them on a 3 to 5x, sometimes 6x multiplier of what their yearly net income is or their income is. So that's what's been a little bit difficult. And the audit process behind, analyzing those laundromats it's pretty ad hoc, like you have to like show up and you have to like check the change systems and do all this and do all that. So it's a lot. It's a lot, but it's awesome. It's super exciting. Hopefully we will land one. It's just gonna be it's gotta be the right one.
And you think your sales approach would be beneficial? Because like when I'm looking at
Yeah.
at where I can add value, I'm thinking, of course, what they're lacking that I have strengths in. And sales is one of the
Yeah.
things I think I'm strong in. So I do look at other businesses that might have that. Are you factoring that into your underwriting, like looking at laundromats, for example, that aren't marketed well?
Yeah, so I think marketing is going to be key, especially for the dilapidated ones that, ones that need a makeover. Just because I've done reno in the past, like we all do marketing as realtors and we seem to do a pretty good job in terms of like getting our home sold. So like that transferable skill should really help me. And also like I'm just, I guess in corporate world, like I used to manage people, like a few people under me as well. So like I think I would be a good manager. Um, and from like a hospitality perspective with Airbnb, like I think I got like a 4.9 something after 2 years. So that's pretty good. So like
Nice.
I know that I'm gonna really just like put an emphasis and focus on like one, making my employees like really happy, and two, like trying to drive up sales, or not sales, but just recurring business for the consumer for the service. So I just like it because
We,
yeah, sorry, continue.
we should not be
Yeah.
business partners because we're the exact same.
Yeah, I know it's too redundant, right? I was kind of
Yeah.
trying to look for something that's a little less, like something that's less required of me. Like when I look at sales, like I don't have to actually do as much sales because the storefront will speak for itself. Obviously we'll do marketing and things like that, but like I want to play more of a managerial role in a business where I don't have to be there every single day, so it can run while I sleep. Because like from the realtor side of things, if I sleep, I don't make money. The three of us are similar from that aspect. So like I'd like to diversify my asset, even though I have a pretty high risk tolerance, but like higher risk, but a lot more of a return than an investment property would be in today's climate with property taxes, insurance being, really heightened, and high prices, high interest rates. It's not to say I don't want to continue to buy. Um, but I think it would be a nice thing for my portfolio to manage, to learn, because like once you figure out that formula, you can translate that formula into other businesses too. So it's like another step in the right direction to propel you upwards to owning multiple businesses. Yeah, that's kind of where my head kind of wraps around when it comes to like business. Like I'm open, like laundromats just seem like not a set it and forget it thing, because I think that's how most businesses fail, but it will require less, one, sales, two, it's
Right.
just, it to a degree does run on its own with proper maintenance and care. So that's kind of why it intrigues me so much.
Yeah, it's really cool though to break down the difference between a kind of like a asset like assets in your portfolio that is more of an investment side compared to your active income. So, yes,
100%.
in being a realtor, our active income, we don't make money while we sleep. Now that's where your assets in your portfolio does. But one thing that's even cooler though, when you like you dive deeper into being a business owner, is you can now diversify your active income. So you don't have to
Exactly.
depend on people's emotions in residential real estate sales, which
Right.
we all know they fall apart in a matter of seconds if it does come to that. So you can now be putting time towards something that you know will 100% get you paid instead of, going through the roller coaster ride of a real estate transaction. So how
Yeah.
like is that kind of a thought process that you have when you go into businesses? It seems like management through Airbnb or other stuff like
Yeah.
that is a route.
Yeah, so I feel like in any business, there's always variables that you can't control with like guests on Airbnb, people complaining at your business, whether it's food and beverage, laundromat, whatever it is. But I found that there's the most amount of variables during a real estate transaction. And I'm sure you guys being realtors, like you've weeded through like hell and back with certain transactions and have done multiple at a time. And like I've always said, I'm like, if you can make it as a realtor, and you can just do whatever it takes to get a transaction done for your client. You can really not do anything, but you can do a lot of things. So like I feel like I've just
Yeah.
been through the ringer like with how some of these deals have transpired to where I'm like I I can handle, an unhappy client, at a laundromat or something. It just it's not like there's not as much at stake, but it is true. It's like we kind of
Yeah,
handle
it's coins.
negotiations. Yeah, it's coins. So I'm like, if I can weed through this and make it happen and I negotiated a $60,000 credit once, which is nuts. But if I can do all of these things and like, kind of just use your intuition and whatever intellectual level there, there's so much that goes into the transferable skills of sales that like I can really handle anything if I can handle real estate deals. So like
Yeah, I
that
would
was my
agree.
thought process. Yeah, because it's tough, man. This is hard. It's
Yeah,
a really hard
I feel
business, and
that. I feel that.
yeah.
For me, Bill, and you might be able to relate to this. That saying that's living in my head when I'm deciding where to put my energy next is if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for me, honestly, that's leading to analysis paralysis because I'm like, shit,
Hmm.
what is a hell yes? I don't want to waste 3 years doing something that's not a hell yes that I don't
I
know it's not
know.
a hell yes for 3 years, right? Do you deal with that
Yeah.
too, or just me?
I do. I've lowered the hell yes, hell no aspect because then, like, as you said, like, we just don't do anything. So, like, I kind of just started to jump into things and figure it out because, like, it depends how high of a barrier of entry you're getting into too. Like if it's like, hey, I'm dishing out $200,000 for an investment property, like in a location where I don't know that's going to work with a small return, like I'll probably say hell no. Like it's really tough. So like when it comes to starting your own business, obviously buying laundromats are really expensive, but even starting concepts and doing your own R&D, like it's not the money that's up front, it's the time. So like I'm being a little bit more I don't know, open to spending time because at least I'll learn something that might open the door to something else if it doesn't work out. But no, I totally get you. Yeah, like I used to think, hey, if it's not a hell yes, then it's a hell no. And then like I won't spend a month or a couple weeks doing my due diligence to see what I've learned to see if it's worth my time or not. So like I'm more open to doing those things now. But yeah, I definitely used to be like it's tough. Um, Especially like deals are scarce and everything, whether it's business, real estate, whatever it is.
Yeah. So you would say instead of doing more due diligence, you do more just jumping in, and that is kind of your due diligence period.
So it depends on the business, right? So like I don't mind sending like an LOI, letter of intent for a business, and then spending 2 or 3 weeks there auditing that business to see if it's actually viable. Because if it isn't, at
Mm.
least I learned a couple things to the next deal that I'm going to analyze. Like when it's like a flip or a multifam, it's pretty easy to analyze. It's a little bit more clean cut than a business that's owned by someone who could be unscrupulous or there's more of an audit process that goes into those things from a business standpoint than like real estate. So yeah, it's still do your due diligence, but I'm more into the idea of not. it's not a waste of time. I have to, like rework that mindset. It's, hey, I'm open to learning, and if the numbers make sense, I'll do it. But it just depends on the process of what you're buying, I guess.
Yeah, we talk a lot about how it is the more smarter show, and that's our goal in business is to work more smarter. But a lot of
Sure.
times you first have to work more harder to get to that. And when you
Yeah.
shared your realtor journey similar to ours, it is that. And we all went through
Yeah.
the more harder real estate agent journey.
hmm
Um, Now, are you prepared to go through the more harder version of business if in your next venture?
I think yes. And the reason being is like, we're still young, and like it's been so difficult for me to invest my way into being like a multimillionaire, versus earning my way through it. So like if I can earn more and then I can leverage the cash to diversify it into other things, I feel like that would be an easier transition, because what I've been doing now, it's worked, but it's not working at the pace that I want it to. Also depends on family situations, whatever it is. But like,
Yeah.
I'm down to put in the work as long as it's my own thing. Like, if you asked me to go back to corporate for 4 or 500K, working 80 to 100 hours, I wouldn't do it. But
I have the same
it
answer
just
as you.
depends. Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I'm
Dylan, what are you
all.
thinking with
Yeah.
that?
I was just gonna say I'm all for like working harder if it gives me
More
leverage to
harder.
have, yeah, more harder to give me, like, you just got to be smarter with your cash if you're working harder. Don't just
More
spend it
smarter.
all, Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Gotcha.
you got to be more smart with it. But the way I've never had any corporate job. My story is I went to college for a year, I dropped out, and I got into real estate. And the only
Nice.
kind of corporate job I guess you could say I worked at AutoZone for like a couple of months, and I hated clocking in, clocking out, and I would
Yeah.
make a big sale and I would still get paid 14.50 an hour, and it was just like ridiculous. So I don't know what it's like to not be working for something bigger and in return not get paid for the hours of me working. So it's
Right.
never really about what's the money that I have in my pocket now, or how much am I getting compensated for this. It's a long term vision of where this can go, and I like that's been just crucial for me. Is
Yeah.
like the amount that I'm able to sacrifice, I guess,
But
for
like Bill
that.
said, like working more harder for yourself is so different than a corporate job working more
Absolutely,
harder,
yeah,
right? Like I
Yeah.
have the same response as Bill. Like I'm willing to work more harder for a business that might be in its infant stage for the next couple of years in that business because I see the end of the tunnel is working more smarter, whereas corporate doesn't really
Exactly.
have that option, you know?
yeah.
Yeah. No, 100%.
And if you're working more harder in AutoZone, moving the brake pads from one side of the office to the other side of the office, there's not much. There's not much motivation there. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
exactly. It's the big kind of like the future plan with it. So I mean, kind of segueing perfectly into it, Bill. Like, what would you say is kind of your, I guess, 3 to 5 year goal in kind of putting in all this effort of breaking down businesses and seeing kind of what the next step in your life kind of is.
Yeah, that's a good question. So for me, it's always changing. I think right now, leveraging the cash on hand that I get from the realtor business as well as side investments, I'm gonna just, if I don't find a business that's worth my time, I'm just gonna keep investing in real estate. So like getting to at least 10K passive income. I'm a little over a third of the way there.
Per
And
month.
then yeah, per month. And then that's with living for free too, which is nice. But there's utilities, you got to pay for all that stuff and just cost of living. Um, but getting to that point, whether it's purchasing investment properties or businesses to get to that 10K, from there, I'll just hit it heavy on the sales side as a realtor or get another business. And then I'm just going to focus on principal pay down of like one property for the next 2 or 3 years afterwards. So then my cash flow, it'll jump from 10 to maybe 15K. Um, just not having a mortgage, or like, look, that could change, but that's kind of the goal that I set for myself now is get to 10K however you can and keep making money so you can use that to purchase those assets that give you that return. And then once you hit this threshold, then you live off of that 10K or a portion of it, and then all your active income goes towards paying down your principal on your current property or whatever property that you want to start chipping away at, just to save interest over time. And then that'll create more cash flow as well in the long run. And then it's kind of, fair game. Do whatever the hell you want to do. But
So let
that's,
me get on that
yeah.
for a moment because my
Hmm.
goal a year or two, so every year for my birthday, Meg will record me like saying my goal for the next year in all facets of life, and I do the same for
Yeah.
her. 2 years ago, I remember I was wearing the exact same shirt I'm wearing now, and there's a video of me talking about wanting to be at 10K a month. But then I sort of backtracked that since then, and I care
Yeah.
less about the monthly in my 30s and more
Hmm.
about the net worth in my 30s,
Interesting.
right?
Yeah,
Because
for
I
sure.
think net worth is thinking bigger. And I think the monthly cash flow is something that as I work less in life, I'm going to care more about, but I'm not at that
Hmm.
stage yet.
Yeah, for sure. That's interesting. Like for me, like I was always wanting to be cash flow heavy and like, just transparency wise, like both of I just have two, three fams. And like Jersey City, I got lucky because it just really popped off here. So I my loan amount is I think like maybe like 520 and then it's worth like 1.1 and then Montclair is worth 1.1 and I have 592 on it. So like I feel my
Yeah,
net
that
worth
excites me
there.
more than the
Yeah.
monthly. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're getting
Yeah.
to the same goals. It's just
We're
getting
getting the
there a
same
different
goals.
way.
Yeah, for sure. And like I'm
Yeah.
there. I'm happy where I am there, but like my lifestyle hasn't really changed aside from owning your own business, which is great. It's massive. So like that's why I want to transition more into the cash flow piece now, which I think you would still get, like buying multifamilies and getting increasing your net worth by forcing appreciation. I'm just like, you know what? Like, I really want that lifestyle change now. Then maybe that's why I kind of shifted focus into okay. Like, it's not to say like I don't know if I'm going to be buying properties that don't appreciate at all. That scares me. That'll probably be a hell no. But like a good happy medium of both, I think is important. Like I don't want
Same.
to be just yeah, like I don't want to be just a return on equity, just like I don't want to be just a return on cash flow. I'd like a happy medium of both, but yeah, you're right. Like net worth is everything. I'm just like, I'm kind of like sitting here and I'm like, my lifestyle hasn't really changed because I
Yeah,
can't
that's
touch
an
it.
important factor. That is
Yeah,
definitely an
yeah,
important factor. I got married since my first purchase, so my first condo versus where I am today, way different. So that's
yeah,
a great point.
for
Yeah.
sure, for sure.
I mean, a lot, not to get too deep into, I guess, like what the meaning of life and purpose and all that sort of stuff would be,
I
but
love it.
the, I feel like there has to be a good enough, I guess you could say, why for going after these goals. These are lofty goals. They're very risky. You know, you're putting a lot kind of on the line, whether it be a down payment on an investment property or buying a laundromat or doing whatever, or just even spending time. What kind of like in your mind justifies this hard work, and like what's kind of your why in doing this?
It's a good question. So like I like things that like kind of fill my soul, So like I heard something maybe like 15 years ago. I was at like an investor seminar. I can't remember who said it, but he said that the best ideas go to the grave. And I think it's because everybody just gets stuck in the rat race for the rest of their lives that they can't do extravagant or, exceptional things or take risks to do those things. So like I don't really want to live like that for the rest of my life, being in the rat race. Like I'd love to create something that's awesome that like helps give back, like maybe like my own version of like a Habitat Humanity or something, or doing something that helps the community. Like real estate sales is awesome, like it is fulfilling to a degree, but it's still a rat race. So like my why is to just be free and it doesn't have to be fully passive income. Airbnb isn't. Like the businesses that we'll probably buy in the future aren't. If I can make them semi-active, that's good enough for me because I like the variety of things that I do on the day to day and I want to increase that and continue to learn. But I guess the why is so like the more assets that I buy that I can delegate, systematize, and create processes for, the more time I'll get back so I can put it into something else that's maybe worth a damn in this world, you know? And who knows, that could be when I'm 50,
Mm.
40. I guess we'll see. But that's kind of been my why, you know, and maybe travel whenever the hell I want. And I don't know. My whole plan, maybe I'll have to scrap it because I gotta get my wife passively give her passive income too. So maybe I should double that. But that's
So
kind of
Dylan, that was a
been
great
why.
question.
Yeah.
Dylan, that was a great question. What is the answer for you?
Yeah, that is a great question.
What's your answer?
Say it.
Also,
I
why are you wearing a jacket in your house? Like that's a legit heavy jacket. What are you
No,
doing?
this is like a fluffy kind of jacket.
Well,
It
fluffy
looks
fleece.
heavy.
It's a little like cute little fleece I got. But so I guess, yeah. I mean, I don't want to sound like Bill. You just gave like probably one of the greatest like Nobel Peace Prize type of answers that
Thanks. Yeah.
help the world in a grand big way and do something bigger than
Yeah.
myself. I don't know if I've looked. I don't know if I've looked deep enough, I guess, to say something grand schemed and actually like fully mean it, I guess. So more selfishly speaking, I like do the work that I do right now so my future son can like look up to me and be proud and
That's
think
enough. I
like I
love
want
that,
to be
man.
just like my dad. Yeah.
What about daughter?
Yeah,
No.
or daughter. Yeah. No, 100%, man. That's enough. That's amazing. That's your legacy, right? Like you're shaping your future child to be the best version of themselves because you were the best version of yourself. And I think we're saying the same thing. We're just trying to be the best version of ourselves for other people, to try to have that domino effect and maybe make the world a better place or not. Maybe it goes to SHIT, who knows? But at least you did everything that you
Yeah.
could, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So Dylan, you got two house hackers here that started their journey through house hacking. So let's Bill, let's turn you into host mode now, and let's put Dylan on
Yeah,
this hot seat here. He's just
love
put in
it.
his offer. By the way, Dylan is how old are you, Dylan?
23.
23. So he's
Jesus
a different stage
Christ.
of life than us. Yeah. It's a little different than us. We're about 10 years
Pretty new,
older.
man.
I
12
yeah.
for me.
So so Dylan is he just put in his first offer, like way over asking, right? Highest and best
Yeah.
Nice.
soon.
Yeah.
What are we thinking here, Dylan?
Yeah, I mean it's nerve wracking. It's like pretty much all the money that I own, that I have. But I would say the biggest like motivator is something that you and Meg always talk about is you don't when you jump into something you don't necessarily know you can like afford it right now, but you know it's the next best step, and you'll figure it out. So that's
Yeah.
kind of what I am doing. I have found what my kind of max thing that would make sense kind of on paper, underwriting the deal a little bit, and I'm like, I guess I can make this happen, but is it scary? Yes, it is scary, but I'm gonna do it. I know I know real estate like the back of my hand now. I've been doing this for
All
three
right.
years, so I'm just gonna trust my intuition and go for it.
Bill, when you bought
Love
your
it, man.
properties, did you also feel very house poor after you bought them?
Yeah, so I did 3.5% down on my fixed income. I liquidated my 401k. I dumped everything into it, man. I was just like, you know what? It's kind of like a sink or swim moment, but like
Yeah,
you never know what you're capable of until you put yourself in that position. Like you'll always claw your way out of it no matter how bad it is.
exactly.
That's kind of why I'm like, you know what? Like I'm just gonna jump in. Just jump in. Obviously do your due diligence, but there's only so much you can do. Like to make up for the lack of experience until you get it. So like it'll be a whirlwind. Like I might have even cried once or twice, like during my first like deal. People just weren't showing up on my job. So like construction management, all that stuff. But dude, just dive in, just go for it. If the numbers make sense, trust your intuition, trust your gut, you'll pull your way through, with everything. That's just how you're probably coded. It seems like you are. Like you're gonna be just fine.
Yeah,
And you have good
yeah.
resources
Thanks.
too.
I mean, yeah,
You
yeah.
got Jake.
Well, Yeah, true, true, and that's obviously like very like inspirational hearing that you kind of like
Yeah.
dumped everything into it. So I know Jake was very similar. He tells me it's very same thing. Like he's like I couldn't have afforded that house that I bought, but I did it, and look where I am now. And like it's cool seeing that. And Jake, to pin it back on you, that's kind of I guess where you are like not taking action in the business realm where you're stuck in the analysis paralysis. You should do like Bill and putting out letters of intent and seeing if it makes sense.
So true, because I was naive when I took big leaps in my past, and naivety was so helpful. Like I always say, it's so good to be dumb
Be more
and
dumber.
be more dumber. And I feel less naive now. I'm not going to say I'm more smarter because I'm certainly not, but I'm less naive, and I'm kind of stuck for sure. Um, Having said that, there are things I am taking some action. It's just I'm not at LOI stages yet, but I am taking some action with some businesses.
It's awesome, man. And look, everybody's on their own timeline. You'll get there when you feel like it's right, as long as they don't make you like do an unrefundable, non-refundable deposit, it's really just becomes your time and unfortunately their time too. But at the same time, if you're serious about it and the numbers work, hell, like go for it. But that's why like having good people in your corner, like you have a really good network. I feel like I have a good network as well, just to bounce ideas off each other and see other people's experiences, so like we don't have to make the same mistakes that they did. Like I wish I had myself 10 years ago. Like when I helped people like buy their multifam, I was like, oh, I wish I had me when I bought my first one. And that's just kind of
Me
always how
too.
it goes. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But like we're
Well, Dylan
always,
knows
yeah.
that. Dylan knows that if his house that he buys goes to shit, that I renovated my basement, so he knows he can
Yeah.
slum there for
Yeah.
indefinite amount of
Perfect.
time. Not, I did not give permission, but he knows that that can happen, so he's just willing to
Eventually.
take chances now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
for sure.
Yeah, well, honestly though, I'm really grateful to like be young and like be grown up in kind of like an entrepreneurial household. Like my parents were like super for me dropping out of college and getting into real estate and making no money and taking out no loans, and like now it seems like a no-brainer, right? But back
Yeah.
then it's like everyone's going to school, and then I started working at AutoZone. Like things were going bad, and then it kind of flips. So but that doesn't happen unless you kind of have like the backbone supporters.
Yeah.
So I mean, going back for you, Bill. I know you said your parents own like a breakfast deli place for 30
Yeah.
plus years. Is that
Yeah.
kind of like where you built like the backbone of like this entrepreneurial journey, or where did that start?
Yeah, it definitely set the work ethic, I think, but entrepreneurial wise, not really. They wanted me to keep my corporate job. They kind of didn't really like that I was buying this piece of crap house either. When I quit my job, they were very, very much against it. So they support me now and they like kind of get the vision, but it is what it is. But like, yeah, the work ethic, I think, kind of helped. I don't know, just like shift me into, saying, hey, I can do my own business. I'd rather have it be all on me than rely on somebody else. Yeah.
That's fair, and I think I
Bill,
mean not to assume or
No.
anything, but I think it's based on the experience again, like we were talking. Like
Yeah.
if your parents like running a deli, and that probably seems really hard to do. So
It's
they were
tough.
probably like, we don't like working a lot. They don't probably want you to go through whatever they probably had to go through to build it up for 30 years. So that's
Exactly.
probably what I guess they were
That's what they were
thinking. And
thinking.
clearly now you're working more smarter, and you're not slamming, doing all this like crazy super hard work running around in circles. You're thinking bigger picture and how to get it done with systems. So
Yeah, 100%, man. Systems and
Bill,
processes.
we've had like 20 episodes, and Dylan has never talked about AutoZone before. Like, and also
Hell
privately,
yeah.
he's never told me. He's never mentioned on or off air that he
And
had a
I
job
only
at
brought it up
AutoZone.
twice or three times today.
Today.
So.
I love it, man.
You
Well, hey,
know that you've never said that,
I
right?
know, I never have. I never have, and it's something that I usually will. I'll probably never bring it back up actually again. Now.
Well, we average like 10,000 listeners an episode, so you're screwed.
Yeah, I know.
No, it's awesome,
I
man,
know.
dude. I worked at Circuit City at one point. I worked as like an IT technician inside of a Toyota. We all like start somewhere and like think of
Wow.
how far you've come already. Like
Yeah.
forget like the whole college thing, going to like corporate world, like you're just diving into what people try to dive into 10 years from the point that you're actually doing it. So I think it's awesome, man. I think you're in the right space. I wish I was a realtor just right out of the gate because I'd be a lot further along, but everybody says that.
Yeah.
But you're blessed with time, energy, and the people around you. So it's awesome, bro. You're doing it
Well,
right, man.
Yeah.
100%.
And a cool jacket. Yeah.
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah.
Sick jacket.
I mean, I think that's the yeah, cool jacket.
Indoor.
I think this is my indoor jacket, by the way. I don't wear this outside.
Oh, good idea.
I can't wear this in public. I'll get made fun
Nah,
of.
yeah.
No, I think that could be the quote of the day, and that could be the perfect kind of capping moment. Is you're blessed with your time. You're blessed with your ability to make use of that time and the people that you're surrounded with. And the
100%.
ace of spades, which Jake just flashed. So, so Bill, where can people, our listeners, find you?
Yeah, man. Instagram's probably best. Willie, double Y at the end. I post sandwich content and houses and stuff like that. But yeah, you could DM me there. Um, emails William Kwong RE at Gmail. Hit me
So
up.
your Instagram, RE Willie with two Y's at the end.
Yeah, that's me. That's a little Funko Pop guy. That's the thumbnail. I got it created
Awesome.
on Fiverr for myself.
Love it.
There we go.
Well, this was
Yeah.
fun, Bill. This was
Yeah,
awesome.
man.
Like I said in the beginning, we need to have you on in a year and maybe even
100%.
beyond that because we want to check back on our guests and see where they're at, versus
For
where they were
sure.
today.
Yeah, man. I'd love to see you guys in a year. Hopefully before that, but at least on the podcast, and see how far we've come
Yeah.
from literally this day on. So it's exciting. I'm gonna mark it in my calendar a year from now. Follow up with the boys and
Love it.
see if you
Let's
see if you
go.
crapped the bed or if you did well.
See if I'm living
He's
in
in my
Jake's
basement.
or
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome, Bill. Well, it was
Awesome,
great
Bill.
talking to you. And guys, everyone, like, subscribe, follow, comment, share, do whatever you got to do.
Only if you like it.
Appreciate you guys. Later.